Hello, my dears. Welcome to a new video. In this video, you will enjoy a beautiful poem, summary of Class 12, and line-by-line explanation of the poem To the Foot from Its Child. Poet of this poem, Pablo Neruda. Introduction. In this poem, To the Foot from Its Child, poet Pablo Neruda has used foot as a metaphor for the trials and tribulations of human life, his birth and his death, his dreams and realities. The child foot, when it is born, does not have the awareness to be a butterfly or an apple. Stanza 1, line 1 to 2. A child's foot is not yet aware it's a foot yet, and would like to be a butterfly or an apple. The first stanza describes the characteristic features of the child's foot. It is an infant's foot, and it does not know that it is a foot at all. It lacks awareness, and hence it dreams of unlimited possibilities. It would like to be a butterfly or an apple. The foot has an optimistic view of life. Stanza 2, line 3-7. But in time, stones and bits of glass, streets, ladders, and the paths in the rough earth go on teaching the foot that it cannot fly, cannot be a fruit bulging on the branch. Here the poet highlights the impact of time on the child. As the infant's foot starts growing, in the outside world, it begins to experience the harshness and pain of life while walking. When it steps over stones and bits of glass, streets, ladders, and the paths in the rough earth, it learns that its role is that of a foot, the same way people become aware of their role in life. It realizes that it can neither fly like a butterfly nor become a bulged apple on the branch of a tree. Stanza 3 or 8-12. Then the child's foot is defeated, falls in the battle, is a prisoner, condemned to live in a shoe. The child's foot has now discovered that it is only a foot. Its spirit loses its battle against the world, is taken prisoner, and is condemned to live in a shoe. It also means that the child's spirit becomes aware of its limitations as a human being and understands its role as a social being in human society. Now, having been imprisoned in a shoe, it gradually tries to understand the world in its way. Stanza 4, line 13-16. Bit by bit, in the dark, it grows to know the world in its own way, out of touch with its fellow, enclosed, feeling out life like a blind man. It is alone and cannot communicate with its counterpart, and gropes blindly in the dark like a blind man. The foot is not in the open, and whatever ideas it forms about life are formed in the confined space of the shoe. Here, it means it is not in touch with reality directly. Society decides what it should understand about life or the world outside. Gradually, the foot adapts itself to its world and learns to cope with the harsh realities of life. Stanza 5, line 17-24. Those soft nails of quartz, bunched together, got hard. They changed themselves an opaque substance, hard as horn, and the tiny petaled toes of the child grow bunched and out of trim, took on the form of eyeless reptiles with triangular heads, like worms. In this part of the poem, the poet gives a graphic description of the changes seen in the child's foot during its transition from a child's foot to adult foot. The soft nails of quartz in the child's foot gradually grow hard and change themselves into opaque substance, hard as horn. The tiny petaled toes of the child's foot grow bunched and out of trim. The toes in the adult foot appear like eyeless reptiles. It slogs and slogs, either as a man's foot or as a woman's foot, working in the field, or market, or mines, or ministries. It toils in the shoe, day and night, scarcely finding time to enjoy the pleasures of life or sleep. It works without respite, and finally meets with death. Stanza 6, line 25, 28. Later, they grow calloused and are covered with the faint volcanoes of death, a coarsening hard to accept. Later, they grow harder and become calloused. In this stanza, the poet attempts to let the reader know that as the child grows into an adult, it becomes less open to reality. It also means that people grow harder, both physically and emotionally. The phrase, faint volcanoes of death, suggests that the foot comes to appreciate mortality. Thus, we find that the child's foot has now been transformed from a beautiful form into a warped and ugly one. Stanza 7, line 29, 31. But this blind thing walks without respite, never stopping for hour after hour. The poet then describes the journey of an adult foot until its death. It is now like an eyeless reptile. Hence, he calls it a blind thing. The adult foot is now in the harsh world outside, suggesting that the adult gets trapped in the routines of everyday life or the humdrum commonality of existence. It is now less capable of enjoyment and finds life difficult in every walk of life. Stanza 8, line 32, 46. The one foot, the other, now the man's, now the woman's, up above, down below, through fields, mines, markets, and ministries, backward, far afield, inward, forward. This foot toils in its shoes, scarcely taking time to bear itself in love or sleep. It walks, they walk, until the whole man chooses to stop. It slogs and slogs, either as a man's foot or as a woman's foot, working in the field or market or mines or ministries. It toils in the shoe, day and night, scarcely finding time to enjoy the pleasures of life or sleep. It works without respite and finally meets with death. Stanza 9, line 47, 53. And then it descended underground, unaware, for there everything was dark. It never knew it had ceased to be a foot, or if they were bearing it so that it could fly, or so it could become an apple. Soon after the death, the adult foot gets buried. It goes down into the underground. It finds everything dark there. It also does not know that it is dead and has ceased to be a foot. When the foot dies and is buried, its consciousness is childlike again. Therefore, the foot revisits the possibilities of flying like a butterfly or becoming an apple. Here it means that people consider the possibility of an afterlife. Conclusion. The freedom of childhood is lost when a person becomes an adult and is exposed to a life of constant work and struggle. Outside, uncontrollable forces have the power to direct one's life, and thus life in society takes away people's free spirits until they are freed again by death. The human promise is not fulfilled by those whom society enslaves and mistreats. The poet imagines that the naked foot of a boy, innocent still of the habituations of social society, does not know that it is a foot or a butterfly or an apple. Only through a long process of denial of our embodied natures, beginning with the simple act of wearing shoes and thus denying contact with the earth, does the boy become a man. However, upon being buried, he still does not know if he will fly or become an apple. Neruda criticizes society for burdening the children with marks and awards. Instead of spending its childhood happily, the child works very hard to get good marks to shape its future. Society does not leave the child according to its will and wish, but ties the bonds of society and makes it move along a path according to society's wish. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please check the link of website in description for detailed notes. If you like this video, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned for more videos.